According to our Gaudiya history, Bhakti Ratnakar tells how Raghunath Das Goswami on the banks of Radhakund would be so deeply absorbed in bhajan as he would chant Krishna's holy names. The form, the qualities, the love, the pastimes, the abode of Krishna was all being revealed to him. He was not in or of this world. And one day Sanatana Goswami came walking, and Raghunath Das Goswami was chanting, absorbed in his smaranam, in his meditation. On the banks of Radha Kund, there were two tigers just a couple feet away from Raghunath Das Goswami drinking the water. And Sanatana Goswami saw Krishna appear with a stick standing between Raghunath Das Goswami and the tigers to protect him. And Raghunath Das Goswami didn't see anything. He was immersed in Harinam. When the tigers went away, Krishna smiled and disappeared. Sanatana Goswami said, Krishna is coming to serve you. When we're chanting the holy names, we're praying to Krishna and Sri Radha. Engage me in your service. And as you're chanting and as you're immersed in serving the Lord in the Leela, the Lord is coming to protect you. Raghunath Das was feeling very sad. Another day, it was summertime, and Raghunath Das Goswami was so absorbed in Krishna's Leelas, in Krishna's holy names. The noon sun was blazing, and Raghunath Das Goswami, his skin would have been scorched. Sanatana Goswami happened to be walking by that day. He saw Srimati Radharani standing behind Raghunath Das Goswami with her veil over his head to shade him from the sun. And as she was doing that, she was standing directly in the sun, perspiring profusely. And Raghunath Das Goswami was so absorbed in his samadhi of prema, he didn't know. Sri Radharani smiled at Sanatana Goswami and disappeared as the sun was going down. Sanatana Goswami told Raghunath Das Goswami, you have to allow us to build a bhajan kutir for you, so that you can be immersed in the loving service of Radha and Krishna, and they don't have to come here and serve you. This is the standard of pure love. Prema Bhakti. This is the speciality of Srimad Bhagavatam. Throughout the world, people approach God as their order supplier. Give me this. Get me that. I want this. I don't want that. And if God doesn't provide what we want, or something very different, sometimes we lose our faith, or we get angry, or we just try harder to somehow or other get God to give me what I want. Deeper tapasya. But Srimad Bhagavatam teaches ahoitaki apratihata. The love that satisfies the heart is unconditional, unmotivated by any selfish desire. Rupa Goswami begins the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That true devotion is without desire for any type of material, sensual enjoyment, which includes wealth, fame. No desire for supernatural powers. No desire even for liberation. True devotion is motivated simply to serve the Lord for the Lord's pleasure in any situation. So Raghunath Das Goswami was sad that Radha and Krishna were personally coming in forms to serve him. He didn't want to disturb them, he wants to serve them. So he lived in his little bhajan kutir. And once he was thinking that the Brijabasis come to Radha Kund and Sham Kund. In those days, it is said, each kund was in a little paddy field. It was a pond about 12 feet by 12 feet. And paddy field ponds are very muddy. So to bathe in Radha Kund was Raghunath Das Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed it. He was saying the highest of all holy places. But so that the world could appreciate it, he was thinking, I should make it enlarged with steps and ghats so that people could bathe nicely in Radha Kund and Shama Kund. But as he was thinking like this, Raghunath Das Goswami felt, that means money, and where am I going to get money, and why am I thinking about money? I already gave up so much money. So he just got that thought out of his mind. Hare Krishna. Immersed himself in his bhajan, his sadhana. But the Lord in his heart heard his wish. And actually the wish of a great soul is the wish of Krishna. There was a very wealthy man who had gone on a pilgrimage to Badrigashram. And his idea was he was going to give a large donation to Sri Badri Vishal, the temple in Badrinath. Sridharji just went to Badrinath. So just the next day he was going to give this big donation for some construction project in Badrinath. And that night, Badri Vishal, the Murti of Badrinath, appeared to that man and told him, I want you to give all your money to Raghunath Das Goswami. Go to Vrindavan, near Govardhan, is a place called Aristagram. And there's 2 little paddy fields. And I want you to help him to renovate them. So he came all the way down from Badrinath to Radha Kund. And there he sees Raghunath Das Goswami just sitting in his little thatched hut chanting all alone. And he offered him large fortune. And Raghunath Das Goswami, I'm not concerned with anything, just take the holy name. But then he was thinking, but in the seva of the Lord I could utilize everything. So Jiva Goswami from Vrindavan, he came. And Jiva Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami both organized the construction. Raghunath Das Goswami was supervising the concept of it. And there was a construction team, a Brijavasi construction team. And they expanded Radha Kund and made beautiful steps to go down. And then they were going to make the same shape as Radha Kund for Sham Kund. But one night, as Raghunath Das Goswami was resting, when we speak about resting, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains how he was living. Raghunath Das Goswami would chant at least 100,000 names a day, 64 rounds, sometimes 200,000, sometimes more. Raghunath Das Goswami would offer Dandavat pranams, minimum 1,000 times every day to Radha Krishna. And he would offer his Dandavat pranams minimum 2,000 times to the Vaishnavas. He would hardly eat. After Rupa and Sanatana Goswami left this world, he was just eating a few drops of buttermilk in a little leaf every day. He was totally absorbed in hearing, chanting, and meditating, and writing beautiful books and poems. And it describes maximum he would eat and sleep, everything involving his body, in less than 90 minutes a day, 1.5 hours. And sometimes he was just so absorbed in so much devotional service that it was impossible for him to even sacrifice 90 minutes. So during those few minutes when he was actually resting, he had a vision. In the vision, Maharaj Yudhisthira appeared to him with Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadev, the 5 Pandavas. And they told him that we have taken forms of trees on the banks of Shamakund to meditate on Radha and Krishna's eternal Leela. Please do not cut us down. The next day they were going to cut down the trees in order to make the Kund square. But Raghunath Das Goswami said, do not cut a single tree. These are great sages and Pandavas. So that is the reason Shamakund is the shape it is. And the place where that tamal tree was, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat and discovered Radha Kund and Shama Kund, is still there today. There are many very holy places around Radha Kund. Kundeshwar Mahadev, the predominating protector of Radha Kund, Lord Shiva, who has been there for a long, long time. In all the 4 directions of Radha Kund, Lord Shiva is there to protect the holy Dham. There is also the Samadhi Mandir of Raghunath Das Goswami, the very place where he would perform his bhajan. It describes about Raghunath Das Goswami the nature of his bhajan. One time, he was so absorbed in hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord, he was so deeply immersed in meditation on Krishna, that Krishna was revealing, he was in Krishna's pastimes, and he was helping other gopis to prepare paramana, or kheer, for Radha Krishna. Radha Gopinath ate the kheer and then personally distributed it to the sakis and to the manjaris. And the gopis gave Raghunath large quantity of kheer. This is in a meditation, in like a dream. And he ate a lot. Now Raghunath Das Goswami, on the inspiration of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, every day on the banks of Radha Kund for at least 3 hours, he would recite the pastimes and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya as he had seen it and as he had heard it from the most intimate associates of the Lord. But one day when it was time for him to come out, he wasn't able to come out. So the devotees asked, "What's wrong?" And they saw that he really looked sick. So they called to the Srinathji temple, where the beloved, exalted, illustrious son of Sripad Vallabhacharya, Vittalnath, was the acharya of the Pushti Marg and was worshipping Srinathji on top of the mountain, Govardhan. And in those days, these Vaishnavas had such deep, loving friendship. When Vittalnath heard that Raghunath Das Goswami was not well, he brought 2 of the best Ayurvedic doctors. And they went in to the Bhajan Kutir of Raghunath Das Goswami and took his pulse and examined him. And they came out and told the devotees that he's sick because he has overeaten. The devotees looked at these doctors, and Vittalnath was looking at these doctors. Everybody knew Raghunath Das Goswami. He would just take 3-4 drops of buttermilk a day. It describes that the regulative principles of Raghunath Das Goswami's were followed so strictly that they were like the lines in stone. You cannot erase lines in stone. No circumstance could deviate Raghunath Das Goswami from his principles. He was a man of such integrity, such morality, such dedication, and most of all, Param Dristvani Vartate. He just had such an ecstatic higher taste for hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna and performing his seva. Nobody could force him to eat more than a couple drops of buttermilk a day. And these doctors are saying he has acute indigestion from eating too much? Impossible. But then this news came to Raghunath Das Goswami. And he told everyone, actually, what they're saying is true. As I was chanting the holy name, I had this dream, this vision, where the gopis were feeding me kheer, sweet rice, and they made me eat more and more and more and more, and now I have indigestion. Then everyone believed. Not only did they believe he had indigestion, but they believed, what is the nature of this prema bhakti in the form that it's manifesting in Raghunath Das Goswami? The leelas being revealed within his heart become the highest reality that affect his physical body as well. Just on the banks of Radha Kund, there is the Janava Baitak. After the Gaur Purnima festival, the first one ever celebrated at Ketari Gram, which was conducted by Thakur Narottam and Srinivas Acharya, Janava Devi, the senior most Vaishnavi in our Sampradaya, the wife of Nityananda Prabhu, an eternal consort, she came to Vrindavan. Rupa and Sanatan had already departed from this world. Jiva Goswami greeted her in Vrindavan, and she was going and cooking for the various temples, the deities, and cooking for all the devotees, and in her own supremely motherly, humble way, she was blessing everyone with the ultimate joy of their lives. Meanwhile, Raghunath Das Goswami, Lord Chaitanya left. Swarup Damodar Goswami left. The only reason he stayed in this world is because Rupa and Sanatan wanted to stay with him as their brothers, and now they left, and now he wasn't even eating his buttermilk anymore. He was engrossed in such deep love and separation, not only from Radha Krishna, but from their devotees. Lord Chaitanya asked Srila Ramananda Rai, what is the greatest suffering? Ramananda Rai replied, to be without the association of your loving devotees is the only suffering I know. There is no other suffering but to be separated from the great souls, the Vaishnavas. Gopal Bhatta Goswami had his bhajan kutir also here for some time at Radhakund. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Jiva Goswami told Janava Devi in Vrindavan what the condition of Raghunath Das Goswami was. So immediately she said, let us go. They went to Bahulavan, that beautiful forest, and then approached Radhakund. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and others informed Raghunath Das Goswami that Janava Devi is coming. As soon as he heard her name and looked up, he was just sitting there weeping in tears of ecstatic love and separation. He looked up and he saw the merciful, effulgent form of Janava Devi. And Raghunath Das Goswami became so thrilled, so enthusiastic, so filled with life. He got up and ran to Janava Devi. And Janava Devi was running toward Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami fell at her feet and wept tears as he worshipped her. And she wept torrents of tears in her love and appreciation for this greatest of Mahatmas. The spiritual love that they shared together. She gave life to Raghunath Das Goswami. She decided to stay 4 days to be in his company. And she was inviting all the people from Aritagram and Radhakund area to take the prasad that she was cooking for her own hands and offering to the deities. One day, on the banks of Sri Radhakund, she was sitting under a tamal tree. And suddenly she heard a flute. And she looked, her heart mesmerized by this enchanting sound. She saw before her Gopinath standing in his threefold bending form, playing upon his flute. And there was Radha and gopis, and Janava Devi fainted in ecstasy. And the place where that beautiful pastime is still there today, a descendant of that original tamal tree, where Janava Devi for 4 days sat and did her seva, meditated on the Lord, gave the greatest pleasure to the devotees, and induced everyone to take shelter of the holy names. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has his bhajan kutir at Radhakund. We read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, even when he was very old, Miniketan Ramdas, an associate of Nityananda Prabhu, came to visit his village in Bengal. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother disrespected. He did not show respect to this great soul. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami very much defended the greatness and the integrity of Lord Nityananda. That night in a dream, Lord Nityananda Prabhu appeared to him in the beautiful form of a cowherd boy holding a stick, calling out, Krishna, Krishna. Then he looked at Kaviraj Goswami and pointed in the direction of Vrindavan. And he said, go to Vrindavan and all of your desires will be fulfilled. Even though he was very old, immediately upon waking up, without saying a single word to anyone, he just left home and went to Vrindavan and never left. Every day on the banks of Radha Kund, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami would hear Raghunath Das Goswami speak about the teachings, the pastimes, and the associates of Lord Chaitanya, and Kaviraj Goswami took notes and deeply imbibed everything that he had heard and seen. Sometime later, the devotees in Vrindavan requested Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write this book, the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami went to each and every devotee begging for their blessings. And then he went to each and every deity and begged for their blessings. And when he begged for the blessings of Madan Mohan, Govindaji, the garland came off the deity and was placed on Kaviraj Goswami's neck. And all the devotees understood the will of the Lord. They raised their arms and loudly called out, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. It was on the banks of Sri Radha Kund that Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita was written. Close to there is the Bhajan Kutir of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, one of the very holy Baitaks of Sripad Vallabhacharya, the Baitak of Madhavendra Puri. And the principal deities of Vrindavan, of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, at the time when Aurangzeb was attacking and destroying temples, Radha Govinda, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Gopinath, and many others, they were secretly brought to Radha Kund, where there were little temples, where they were hiding at Radha Kund for many years before being brought to Jaipur, where they were protected by the great kings, and places like that in Rajasthan. A temple established by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And there is the Pushpa Samadhi of his guru, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's father, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, had a house and a bhajan kutir at Radha Kund. And his Pushpa Samadhi and also Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Samadhis are both at Radha Kund. And you could see the beds that Srila Saraswati Thakur slept on, and his cane and his shoes are still there today. One time when Srila Prabhupada was visiting him there, they were walking around Shama Kund and Radha Kund. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was explaining how there is fire in the mutt. He had given so much of his life to provide facilities for the devotees to live together peacefully to execute pure bhakti. And through these bases, to inspire more and more and more people throughout India and throughout the whole world to taste the treasure of the nectar of pure bhakti. But he said that now that we have such nice facilities, leading devotees are fighting over positions. They are fighting over facilities like fire. Better if we take off the marble from these temples and sell it and use the money to distribute Krishna consciousness through literature. And it was there that he told Srila Prabhupada, if you get money, publish books. Srila Prabhupada was with his little son at the time. He was a grihasta. His son, Mathura Mohan, was holding Prabhupada's hand, and he was walking with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, as far as I remember. And Prabhupada took that order so deeply in his heart. And we should understand, if there's anything that deeply disturbs the spiritual master, it's when devotees are fighting with each other. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, it is like fire, can destroy everything. Srila Prabhupada said, there is nothing that Maya has the power to do to check the progress of the spread of bhakti from the outside. But she can check it from the inside by creating envy, unhealthy, egoistic competition, where instead of appreciating, we become threatened by each other's successes. Fire, blazing fire. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told Prabhupada this. And Srila Prabhupada told us one of his last instructions. You can show your love for me by how you cooperate. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are cooperating, and even more than that, appreciating with love each other, encouraging one another, giving strength when each other are weak, association of devotees is so powerful. Satsang. To be without the association of devotees, unless we are very highly liberated souls, it is impossible to survive spiritually. And we see among the greatest people, Haridas Thakur, what kind of saint was he? He initiated Maya into the holy names. She surrendered to him. But he was always seeking the association of Advaitacharya. He lived in Puri, always seeking the association of Sanatana and Rupa Goswamis and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. The association is the most relishable, and great souls consider it the very sustenance of their spiritual lives. And when we read about the wonderful relationships among devotees in these holy scriptures, it reveals to us what Vaishnava culture is about. Srila Prabhupada writes, to be a Vaishnava means to be without envy. Srila Prabhupada quotes from the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev, where it describes devotional service in the mode of ignorance, in the mode of passion, in the mode of goodness, and devotional service that is transcendental. And it describes devotional service in the mode of ignorance is one who performs devotional service, but that person has the qualities of being envious, being proud, thinking I'm better, I know better than others, being harsh or disrespectful, sometimes being violent, critical, or a separatist, which means a separate desire than Krishna. That is devotional service in the mode of ignorance. And Prabhupada in the purport quotes from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. A Vaishnav is one who accepts that the supreme goal of life is service to Vishnu. But if such a Vaishnav is envious, harsh, criticizing, proud, separatist, said, we offer obeisances from a distance. But we should be very careful not to mix too closely because they could drag down our devotional service. So Prabhupada is telling us, and the Acharyas, Kapila Dev, the Lord is telling, it's not just because a person's devotee that they're good association. It's the character and the qualities of a person as a devotee that actually makes them good association. Otherwise, they could be the worst association. Devotional service in the mode of passion is one who serves the Lord desiring wealth, desiring pleasures, desiring profit, adoration, or distinction. It's fruitive. Such devotional service may take many lifetimes to actually cleanse our hearts. Devotional service in the mode of goodness means there's no morality, respect, piety. We're actually serving the Lord without desiring anything for ourselves. And when we render service to the Lord purely for the pleasure of the Lord, as the servant of the servant of the servant, this is transcendental, pure devotional service. And each and every one of us, if we actually want to make spiritual advancement, we are responsible to develop these qualities. Sometimes devotees say, we don't have to think about all this. Just chant Hare Krishna and everything will be done. That's true. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada quotes him, but it may take millions of births. It will get done. We have to develop these qualities. We have to focus on these qualities. All these great scriptures with all these incredible histories and all these wonderful examples is to teach us how we're supposed to live so that we can chant Hare Krishna and attain the highest goal. The Bhagavatam tells us unless you come to the mode of goodness, you cannot transcend. The mode of goodness alone, birth after birth after birth, But when we chant the holy names, when we make Krishna the ultimate goal of life from the mode of goodness, it's like a launching pad that takes us to the spiritual world. But when we don't have these qualities, when we don't pray and strive as tapasya for these qualities, then our tendency is to become envious, to put ourself in the center of everything. What people say about me, what people do to me, is all that really matters. But that's not that all matters. What really matters is Krishna pleased. What really matters for a tree is not what you do to a leaf. It's what you do for the root. Pleasing Krishna. Trinadapi sunichena taror iba sihishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. This is what pleases Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Radhanath Das Goswami, this is the highest principle of renunciation. Whether you're a Swami, or whether you're married to a husband or a wife, or whether you're a student, the highest principle of renunciation is to be humble like a blade of grass, tolerant like a tree, forgiving like a tree, to offer all respect to others and not to demand or expect it for oneself. Is Krishna pleased? To be able to appreciate well-wishing criticism to help us instead of defending ourselves. To be able to actually appreciate the goodness in others. Sometimes when devotees would find faults with other devotees, Srila Prabhupada said, it is like looking at the marks on the moon. The moon has marks, but the full moon is so good. It's giving volumes and volumes of light. If there's one austerity that will please our great gurus, Srila Prabhupada, and all the great acharyas and avatars, it's our willingness to perform the austerity of cooperating and appreciating and helping and serving one another in all circumstances. With Krishna in the center. To actually help to elevate each other. And how Srila Prabhupada would do that. Sometimes it was with a smile. Sometimes it was just giving a gulab jamun to a person who didn't know anything except the sweetness of that gulab jamun. Sometimes it was by chanting the holy names, giving beautiful lectures, writing incredible books, or chastising a person like a thunderbolt. But it was all in a spirit of love. Yes, it was on the banks of Radha Kund that Srila Prabhupada got this message. And he translated that message so many times for us. He gave us his beautiful books to study, to share with the world. And he gave us the lesson of the books, to be united with one heart, with one voice, with humility and compassion, to uplift each other and uplift the world by sharing the beauty of the spiritual world of Vrindavan through the chanting of the holy names. We still have not finished the Parikrama. We'll continue tomorrow. I thank you very, very much.